1 out of every 5 students report being bullied. 13% were made fun of, called names, or insulted. They were pushed, shoved, tripped, or spit on. 1 in 5 tweens have been cyberbullied. It's a problem, and it has to stop. Welcome to Bully This, a hero's journey. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Our passion is to show kids that there is life after bullying. You'll hear from former bullies and bullying victims, and you'll hear how they made their journey from troubled youth to successful adults. Welcome to Bully This, a hero's journey. Now your hosts, Tyler Copenhaver Heath and Clifford Starks.
Hi, and welcome to Bully This, episode 3. Before we start today, I want to talk a little bit about something. It's the rare things in life we do not always understand, but eventually it is the rare that we learn to appreciate and value. The Apple commercial alludes to those that think different. You remember that commercial?
I do. I absolutely love that commercial. Life's about thinking differently.
Well, and think of some of the people that think differently.
Yes.
And what that's accomplished.
100%.
Otherwise, we'd all still think the world is flat.
Yeah, that's very true.
But, would you agree that often people suffer for the rarity until they find a way to learn to flourish from it?
They do. Yeah, it's kind of like hitting your head on a window and you're trying to, I was just talking with Kerry about this. You want to fit in and you don't know how to fit in. And so you have to paint your own pathway. And when you do, it actually makes a new pathway for everyone else.
Oh, absolutely. So on that note, I want to talk about our guest today. Super excited for having her over here all the way from the UK. It's Kerry Johnstone. And a little background on Kerry. She's an international fashion model, influencer, brand ambassador, and actress. Her international runway shows first started at 14 years old. Kerry has now developed the brand KJ Model and has been on a tear working runways and designers all over the world. Internationally published and awarded Miss Teen Popularity, Miss Teen Charity, Kerry also holds Miss World Top 10 Best Models 2019. I don't want to mess this up. This is cool stuff. And the Variety Club Awards for Best Female Model. On top of all this, I had a chance to chat with Kerry's mom and to get a little bit of dirt on her. So Kerry's mom tells me that she's begun to break down barriers and conquer fears, which is why she's actually on this podcast today, because her mom said that this wasn't something she would have done a couple months ago. So it shows how far she's come. Her mom says Kerry is not a diva, even though she's had success, and it's never kept her from her humble nature. Kerry's mom is their number one fan. Kerry started modeling at age 13, even though she had very little confidence brought on by intense bullying. What I find interesting is so often in the world we celebrate rarity. When we think of rare items, we think of special and expensive. At over 6 feet tall, Kerry is a rarity, and in fact, only 1.5% of women in the entire world are over 6 feet tall. What makes Kerry so special is also what led to her bullying. So we're going to talk to Kerry today and find out more about her journey. Hey, Kerry, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, good.
Doing well, thank you.
So a little bit about Bully This and a hero's journey. So we're going to walk you through the hero's journey today in your own words. And the first step in the hero's journey is kind of the call to action. And this is what we like to call, unfortunately, the sad part of the story. But we were hoping that you could tell us some stories that might resonate with some of the kids that are watching today, and help them get to know you, and therefore, how you developed some of your pathways towards success. So we're hoping that you might be able to tell us a little bit about some unfortunate stuff that might have happened to you when you were younger.
Okay, so yeah, a lot of it started at school. It happened from about year 7, which I'm not sure what that is in America to you guys, but it's when you first start big school, if that makes sense.
Got it. Okay.
And a lot of the time it was, to start off with, it was boys. I'd be walking to school and boys would throw rocks at me and they'd say, "Oh my God, look at you, like a man," and things like that. And they were just really nasty, and I had quite bad acne. I was obviously 6 foot, bad acne, gappy teeth, I had braces and things like that. And it was just all things that I had wrong with me that I couldn't help, sort of thing. And it was just all the time, constant. Every morning I'd walk to school, every night I'd walk home. So that's how it all started, really.
Yeah. And you're a twin. And so did you feel that, and I know your twin has quite a bit of different story. Do you think it was, kind of getting back to that rare nature of things? Is it because you stood out a little bit more that even though you were a twin, you guys are not identical twins, correct?
Correct. Yeah, definitely.
So just the fact that you were this rare and beautiful rarity, do you feel like that kind of, it's an Achilles heel in a way because it's led you to your success, but at the same time, it was kind of what made you stick out as a kid?
Yeah, a lot of the things that I think it was is definitely the height, because I was taller than most of the lads, most of the girls, and it was just the fact that I stuck out and I was different, and a lot of people used to follow each other, and I never used to. I used to just be me, and I used to stick out.
Yeah. Was school a scary place for you then, growing up?
I've always had my sister's help. Yeah, I've always had my sister. So I've always been fortunate that if I need somebody, I've had someone there. It's almost like she's my little guardian angel that's helping me. So it's always been a tough place for me, but yeah, I've always had her.
I had a chance to obviously chat with your mom online, and she's very supportive of what you're doing and your career and everything else. Was it something that it was hard to tell your mother what was going on, even though you guys are close and she's so supportive?
So no, my personality is you get what you see sort of thing. So straight I'd come home and I'd cry and she'd say, "What's up, honey?" And I just said, "Oh, it's the classic everyday stuff I get, like bullies and things like that." And it was quite easy to tell her because she's quite an open person.
Yeah.
Very easy to talk to. So, and she was tall when she was younger. She's about 5 foot, but she was about 6 foot-ish when she was younger as well. So she understood the bullying and things like that, but she didn't get it to the degree that I did.
So she did get bullied though, to some extent.
Yeah, she got bullied for being tall. She did do a little bit of modelling when she was younger, but she didn't have the confidence to carry on. She did like a few catwalks and that was it.
Part of what we're trying to do here is, help parents too, because they feel, I'm sure really hopeless to help their kids, because I'm sure your mom wanted to just come in and be a superhero for you and save the day. Did your mom have any advice that helped you, or was it hard to get advice on the subject?
So her advice a lot of the time would be like, "Darling, you're beautiful." Things that they pick on is things that you can get rid of, and they can't get rid of being nasty, or they can't, do you know what I mean? They can't get rid of their personality sort of thing. So they would that couldn't change, and I could change the things that were wrong with me.
Yeah.
Tell me that things change and that the best people get bullied and things like that. And all she could do was really be there for me.
Yeah. Is there any specific instances besides the rock throwing that really stick out in your mind as, some pretty bad instances that you kind of had to deal with?
Yeah. So I had this one best friend that I was best friends with since I was very little, like from when I joined school. And like, for instance, I had a birthday party. Because I'm a twin, it was a joint birthday party. And I had my group of friends and she had her group of friends, and we all went away or whatever we did. And all of my friends would play with Leo, my twin, as well as me. And my best friend was like, I don't want to play with you, you're ugly, sort of thing.
Wow.
And this best friend.
Yeah.
And I'd come down in like a beautiful like little red dress that I used to love, and she'd be like, "You look horrible, like take it off," like a proper mean girl, she was just a bully. And she'd say, "You look really anorexic in that, like don't wear that." And I'm like, how does a child know how to say this, like these hurtful words? It just doesn't
Sure.
make sense. That's what she did, and she just picked on me, and whatever I wore, she was like, "You don't look right in that," and then she'd wear it, and it's just like, you don't actually mean that, she's just saying that to hurt me, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Really was constant. Even my best friends to bully me and things like that, and I think it was jealousy, but I only know that now.
Is it almost harder when you feel like somebody's a friend and they're doing it, or was it?
It was a little. because as in like she knew me as a person. Like anybody can go and judge me, that's fine, but you don't know me. And once you know me, then you can judge me. If you don't like me, you don't like me. Do you know what I mean? I don't need everybody to like me, but it was the fact that she knew me as a person and she knew I was insecure. She knew I'd crying every day being bullied, and she joined in with that. It just wasn't right.
Yeah. What I find interesting about you and Cliff's story is I feel like you're two people that had this awesome power, but enough people had talked to you about, I mean, you at 13 years old, you were recognized, 14 years old, you were recognized as somebody that should be on the runway, you know? And so if that doesn't tell you, you know, that you had value even way back then I don't know what does. But when people are telling us otherwise, you know, maybe it gets harder and harder to believe. And I feel like Cliff's the same way. He's always been a big guy. You know, like we talked about this last time, the lion that looks, or the little kitten that looks at himself in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
You guys almost were the opposite in a way.
Yeah.
You were the lion already, but you saw a look in the mirror and you saw a kitten.
Yeah.
And do you think a lot of that has to do with, you know, I mean, especially for you, like the closeness of the people that were telling you these things? Did that make it harder?
Definitely, yeah. I did think of myself as the little lion or the little cub, and I knew that I always had in the back of my head that I'm going to be amazing one day, and that I'm going to have the confidence one day. And now I finally do have it. So
yeah. What's crazy is you had it all along. You know,
exactly. That's the thing that my mom explained. She said, "You're going to be a star. You're going to be amazing. You just wait." And I just didn't want to wait. But now I know that my life is good.
Yeah.
Following the process. Yeah. You know, and I remember you were talking about being internal and going internally and having the support system like your mother to help you go internally. But sometimes those bullies help us to go internal and still be okay with ourselves, you know, as you go through your process. Did you kind of experience that as you went through your journey?
Not really. I don't really think I experienced that. But like I said, I've always had an amazing family.
Mm-hmm.
All of my family, I've got quite a big family. I've got a younger sister and an older brother. So I've always had my big brother there as well. So I was always lucky in that sense that I had them with me, and they went to the same school and things like that. But yeah.
What are some things that you would kind of think about when you were feeling defeated by some of the things that were going on? And I realize you had a great network around you, but is there, you know, when you would have those moments of defeat, you know, were they the ones that pulled you out, or were you able to reach deep down and find something in yourself?
So definitely when I was, I don't know, 15, 16, that was the hardest stage. I didn't think it would be, but it was, because it was the time that everybody would, I don't know, grow boobs, or like, do you know what I mean? Come into a woman. I didn't. What's happening? I'm not changing like everybody else is. And that was the toughest time. And I just was like, what's the point of being alive? Like genuinely, I'd say to my mum, I don't want to be alive. And it must have been awful for my mum to hear and things like that. But I had to make myself. I think that was the turning point. One day I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't. And then my braces came off and my acne started to go and things like that. And all of a sudden, everything just starting to get better.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's so interesting is we work with this stuff that's given you actually a big heart, in my opinion, you know, going through some of this stuff. And then all of a sudden you've been working with this, what do you want to call it? Like a handy, I don't want to call it a handicap, but almost like working from behind to some extent. And then you've developed all these processes to deal with it. And then all of a sudden you blossom into who you feel that you've always been, you know, or should be. And then like, do you feel like that's when progress really started to happen in life, is when you like started to kind of embrace that?
Definitely, yeah. So at the age of 16, 15 to 16 was a time that something changed. And then I finished school and I went to college. And when I started college, nobody cared. Nobody looked at you, oh, you're ugly, or oh, you're this. Nobody cared. They just did what they wanted to do and went there for what they went there for, you know, to study. And nobody really bullied me in that sense. And I just realized, like, nobody actually cares. Why am I getting so worked up about people's comments and things like that? And I thought, no. And I just dived in head first. And I was like, right, what else can I do to better myself? What more modeling can I do? Can I try acting? Can I try all sorts of different things?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I try to, like, we talked about this in another episode, but it's like that point in life, that like 10 years old to 18-year-old, it just feels like the entirety of what life is, you know, and really it's such a small part of it. And, you know, that is the part of life when you can really screw up so much of your life. You know, you can make a mistake and you can end up doing some sort of crime, you know, you can make a mistake and end up, you know, doing worse, you know, and then you'll derail your whole life just based on that little package of life that feels like everything, you know. So when you're thinking about kids, like, I fear this actually, you know, I actually have tried to mentor in this age range so kids can see that, like, hey, don't think about this period right now. I know it kind of sucks, but believe me, this is not all of life, you know, and for a lot of people, life gets better. What would you tell, if you're talking mentoring to a kid in that phrase right now that can easily screw up their life, what would you tell them?
Genuinely, I would just say, be you. That is all you can do. Be you, be what's deep within you. I always knew that I could be something, and I always knew I had the power. I just needed somebody to be like, come on, you're worth it. Like, you're beautiful. Like, you are who you are. God has a plan for everybody, and just to be confident.
Sure.
Nice.
And just care what people say. Be who you want to be.
I love that. I wanted to ask you, so between 15, 16, you said that there was a major transition. Was there anything that specifically stood out that made that shift, that transition?
I don't think it was anything in particular that actually made me shift. I think it was just more of it happened for so many years. It had to end. I had to just let it stop and not get to me anymore. And I think it was just slowly the bullying started to stop, but I became confident and I thought, you know what? No, I'm not taking it anymore. I'm as good as all of you are. Like, there's nothing different about us, but we're all the same. And I just was fed up with it, I think.
Yeah.
And I just thought.
Were you dating at all in high school?
No.
So
now
you're kicking them out the door.
Yeah. Boyfriend up until I was about 17, and then I started exploring and things like that.
Yeah.
But
do you think has that made the relationship better for you, or has made it a little bit harder, or do you look for more value in people because of, you know, missing that younger dating age?
Not really. I'm not dating. I was trying to build myself up. I don't think that I could have had a relationship with someone while trying to still myself. But no, I don't really think it was that hard. And now I just pick the right people, I guess. I just know who's right.
Yeah. When you were doing the modeling so young, no part of that kind of gave you the confidence that, like, hey, these people can see this in me. Was there any thought yet, or was not enough awareness to, like, hey, everybody else can see it, but I can't see it?
So yeah, there was a thing actually. So I actually met a German designer in Tenerife, and that's where it all started. And she was following me the whole night, and I thought, who is this? And I said to my mum, I was like, Mum, this lady's following me. And she was like, okay, we'll keep an eye on it. And anyway, she came over and she said, wow, you're so beautiful, the way you hold yourself, that your height, you're this, you're that, and you're just different. And I thought, what? I'm different? And I thought, no, this can't be a thing. And then I said, no, Mum, I don't want to do it. It's crap. It's not a thing. And she said, no, honey, try it. Just try it. And I did. And then I did my first fashion show in Berlin on my birthday, actually. And it just all went off from there. And I just thought, you know what? Thing. And I think that was one of the stages actually that made me think I am something, was the designer saying, like, seeing something in me. Yeah.
That's awesome.
When did you start to realize that because maybe at first, did you wish not to be tall? Did you wish not for this gift? When did you start to realize it was a gift and not a curse?
So I actually had a thing at school where I used to stand on my ankle to try and make myself look smaller.
Mm-hmm.
That was like how bad it got, because I just wanted to fit in. Like I was fed up of being too tall and taller than the boys and things like that. And then I just thought, what am I doing? Like
Yeah.
this, it was then. And it's like this designer is saying that my height is like the best thing she's ever seen. 14 and 6 foot, like
Yeah.
no one is, because I've always been from that age, I've always stayed 6 foot, but no one's 14 and 6 foot. And I just thought, oh, maybe it is a blessing. And ever since then, most of the agencies love my height. So I think it was just that made me realize I love it.
Totally. And,
Nice.
and what's so crazy about it is we're so busy trying to just be like everybody else. I mean, I think a kid's wish almost in school is to be gray and the same height as everybody. And I mean by gray, like nothing spectacular sticks out, nothing that people could, like differentiate them from the crowd. You literally want to run in the crowd, so to speak. And then when you have something like height, or, Clifford's mentioned some of his ways he stood out, growing up, those things tend to feel like a curse until they become a blessing, right? And that's what's so fascinating. It's almost like a chain that you have to bear for a while to finally utilize your curse. Do you kind of see it that way, or am I being overzealous on it?
No, definitely. And a lot of the time from my sisters as well, they were a little bit different, and they were always who they wanted to be. And I thought, I need to be who I want to be. And I think kids a lot of the time just want to be the same, so no one bullies them, or so no one says anything.
Yeah.
Which you get that they don't want confrontation, they don't want to stick out and things like that. But nowadays people are being noticed for big things, and they get stuff like modeling out of it, and it's like, just be who you are.
Yeah. Well, and that's
I love that.
We're really starting to realize that difference is good, and so, but it's harder for kids to see it, look, like think of some of the most successful people in the world, or some of the most standout people in the world, or even scroll through social media for a little while. You get these guys that wear these crazy outfits just to stand out, and, they're trying to stand in front of their cars just to stand out. So then it becomes, I don't want to blend in anymore. I want to stand above the crowd.
And that's the thing. I look back now, and everybody I went to school with, they're trying to be big, they're trying to do things, they're trying to get in on it. And it's like, from the beginning you didn't want to be that, and you made people feel like they couldn't be them, and now you're wanting to be them. It's crazy.
Yeah. How would you say that, like, as far as building you, how were you able to make that switch? Was that when you started to, like you said, blossom, when the height really started to level out, and like when the acne started to dissipate? Like, what were the tools you were able to do to convert that mindset from defeative, almost, I don't want to be around anymore, to, what, this is a gift, I'm starting to realize this? Two questions, like, how did you use that as a tool, the pain from the past? And then how did you start to realize that it was a blessing, and how you could utilize this blessing to be beneficial in life?
Okay, so I think it was more anger. It was more anger towards, and I wanted to prove that I wasn't just nobody, and that I was fed up, and I wanted to show everybody that I could do this, and I could be a model. Because when I started when I was 13, I was very, very insecure. I still modeled, and it was, how are you a model? Like, there's no way Kerry's a model. Like, did you hear this? Did you hear this? And it's like, yeah, I am. And I think, like, from 13 to 15, I was a good model, but I was some jobs that would come up, I'd say, I can't do that, but I can. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's always been a big journey for me. Even now, like, I could never speak on the phone, I could never speak on camera and things like that. And now I'm just like, what's the point in caring? Like,
yeah,
there's
totally.
no point.
Well, and that's some of the hardest hurdles for people, to realize then, if I do this scary thing, what's the worst that could happen, But when you're in a state of feeling defeated already, like the kids that are scared to get on the bus, it's hard to see that what's the worst that can happen mentality, So how would you, one of the things that Cliff really and I try to do is, like, how do we talk to the kid that's going through this right now, that's scared to get on the bus, and how do we tell them tomorrow is going to be a better day, in your opinion?
That's a hard one.
Yeah. I mean, it's not an easy question. And if we had the answer, we would probably only have to do one episode of this show. But we try to get as much insight from people as possible, because I think at the end, what we're really working on is awareness and hope. And if we can find some tools along the way, you know, that's helpful, that helped you, or, you know, well, Cliff and I have talked a little bit about, you know, actually, I'm going to tell them a little bit about what we talked about on the last episode. Maybe that'll help Kerry think of what her thing is. So Cliff and I have been training partners for a long time. And one of the training things that we've done a lot of different types, and, you know, to try to stay in shape and, you know, get better and everything. And so Cliff is going to probably hate that I bring this up, but Cliff, what am I amazing at, even in comparison to you?
Amazing at
it's a specific task.
Running a mountain.
Yes. I don't know what it is, but we have this mountain here that's like basically straight uphill. And for some reason, this mountain and I are in sync. Like I can be double a person ahead of the mountain.
Yeah.
No issue. So like this mountain and me are no problem, you know, like I got this. And what I use to get me up the mountain is I use some anger. You know, I drop deep in that bucket that was angry from, maybe it's a childhood thing, maybe it's an ex-girlfriend thing, something. And I am so mad when I'm running at that mountain, I'm saying, bring the pain, you know, and that works incredible for me running that mountain. I accomplished that mountain, no problem. So, but it's interesting. So Cliff will have to tell you his motivation, but we'll go run steps together. Cliff beeps my ass on the steps, you know? And so here I'm utilizing in this course, this little life obstacle, if you call it, and I'm able to utilize that pain to get me up that mountain faster than just about anybody, you know? And then Clifford, what is it you use on the stairs to beat me?
Mine's literally one step at a time. I just focus on going one step at a time.
So there's something about the difference. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're two different types of runs, but if you think of them as obstacles in life, my tool works really well for that mountain, but it doesn't work as well for these steps. So what we try to get at, you know, when we're asking so many people about what was their tool to get to where they were at to accomplish these challenges, is not every tool is going to work perfectly to run a mountain, and not every tool is going to work perfectly to run the steps.
I think it was definitely the anger part of me, very angry part. So I would think about all the disgusting things that people would say to me, and that you're not worthy, and she's not a model, and she could never be, and things like that. And I take that and I'm like, watch. Yeah. And I make it positive, and I try and change it.
And this is something we talk about all the time, because Cliff, I don't know if you've noticed, he's super positive. And I love that about him. He's amazingly positive, you know, and I'm not negative, as we said in the last episode. I'm okay with using pain like you use pain. I think when those things happen, it's okay to use it. But there was something Cliff told me a couple of years ago. He's like, Tyler, you can't live in the pain forever. It's not healthy for you. So at what point do you live past the pain, you think?
I think everybody is mentally different. Everybody has a different stage of that. But mine, I think, is the success. When I'm successful, it helps a little bit with it, because I'm like, I've got confirmation, if that makes sense, which is kind of bad, but that's how it with me.
So in the last episode, we were talking a little bit about how you're able to use, and I use it a lot, this pain, you know, and you light it as a fire. But the problem is that pain is only so much kindling for so long, you know, and the other switch that's going to happen at some point, you're probably having people start to cheer for you too, right?
Definitely. So a lot of the people that I went to school with, boys and girls included, all of them are like, they're following me, they follow every single social media, they comment on my stuff, and a lot of the lads still try and message me like, oh, you're so beautiful, like, could I have a chance, sort of thing. And I'm like, no, like, it's even harder, the fact that they're trying to now be nice.
Yeah.
It brings back all the pain. But I mean, I know it's not never, but it brings back a lot. So
instead of dissipate, because I always, like what we were talking about before was, you have this pain because nobody believes in you. And then all of a sudden you do some stuff, and then it's like, oh man, some people believe in me, you know? And now like it almost switches to like, I can't let the believers down because nobody used to believe in me before. But you're actually using that at new attention almost, and you're refueling the flame, so to speak, because you're like, hey, you weren't there for me before.
Definitely. And especially when I see people out in public that are like people that used to bully me or whatever, I don't give them the time of the day. I just keep my head high and I walk past and that's done. And they're so surprised that I'm not scared or insecure, and it's crazy.
Do you almost want to thank them at times now?
Definitely. If I hadn't have been bullied, I wouldn't have been as strong as I am now.
And that's what's so interesting in what we're uncovering more and more and more. There is usually something in this younger years phase that is so hard, but then leads to building these amazing people. I mean, look at what you've done. How old are you at this point?
I'm 19 now.
Yeah. Look at all the things you've done. You're 19 years old.
Definitely.
We almost can't even have a hero's journey today because like 19 is so young in the journey, right? We got to come back and, well, who knows where Cliff and I will be in 10 years. But
No, I think that would be really cool though. Just watching you celebrating your successes, moving through life and going through your process and the tools that you'll share with others along the way. Because I also want to say big congratulations on coming on the podcast. And a couple months ago, that wouldn't be a thing that you did. You're still stretching and growing.
Oh, good point. Great point.
I'm so excited about this.
Yeah.
I'm excited for all the opportunities to come, because like there was more the physical thing of being insecure, but I was obviously still insecure, and like talking and things like that I still get very, very anxious about. But I've got somewhere, which is why I'm like, let's do it. So hopefully I can go higher.
That's what a lot of people don't realize. And I know Cliff and I get both of us get this quite often. You look at us and like the thought is one thing. And then like, if you actually get to know us, the thought is completely something else, you know? And so, so it's weird. You wear this shell, you know, that's this signpost to society that says who you are. And it's not actually who you are.
So true.
So many people judge and they're like, oh, she's automatically going to be horrible and she's going to be snobby and she's going to think she's so amazing. And it's like, if you meet me, I don't. I'm just I think I'm a genuinely nice person.
Yeah. Well, and I think about Cliff all the time, and I think about him driving his little green car that he used to drive, and people used to road rage him all the time. And I'm thinking to myself, if they only knew the monster that was inside of his car. Now, he's probably going to go out and just give him a hug and ask him how their day was. But if they only knew the monster that they were honking the horn at, you know? And so, and I find that, I mean, look at, people are probably too even afraid to approach you. Guys probably are too afraid to ask you out on dates these days. Mm-hmm. And they don't know that deep down in, you know, like you're actually a caring person and you've been through these trials, and, you know, like you're not the shell that you appear to be.
Definitely not, no.
And that almost is, I hate to say this for you, that almost is another blessing, right? Because now you get to have this beautiful shell for the world, but your beautiful heart is matching it.
Exactly, yeah. And I don't, obviously you get what you see with me, but I don't let everybody know what I'm about. You know, I have the KJ side and I have the Kerry side, and the Kerry side is me deep down, and the KJ modeling part and the confident part and the, oh, nice to meet you sort of part. And I would never even say that. I'd be too afraid to say that to somebody. So, yeah.
How much do you hate the thought that, let's say everything was easy in life. Let's say you had this shell that you have now, and like you see, people see this beautiful woman, you know, and what if it was always that way? And just everything was kind of given to you in a way. And I'm not saying beautiful people are given it. I'm just trying to make a point, you know? So let's say that like everybody looked at you, life was easy, road was easy. Everybody wants to date you. Everybody wants to be you, you know, and then you become this person that doesn't care about people, that, you know, that doesn't want to do good in the world. How much do you hate that thought?
I do hate it, and I heard that from a few friends and stuff, and I see that they are a good person, but they just don't want to be a good person, and it just, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And so in a way, can you start to further embrace what happened? Because it's like, what if it had been easy, and what if you didn't have the heart you have?
I think that obviously all the bullying has made me a better person and things like that. And I think that people that never get bullied are always going to be a little bit, but they think they're superior sort of thing. Yeah. And I definitely do think that I'm a lot stronger from it.
Yeah. And I guess what I'm trying to get, if I'm talking at the kids for a minute, what I'm trying to get to the kids is, I know when you're getting on the bus and it's scary, you know, it's not easy to say, okay, I'm going to wear this like a badge of honor, you know, someday. It's like, was telling Cliff this story this morning, you know, like I went to school in 11th grade and this kid came up to me and he said, hey, you know, that's the t-shirt we gave away to the charity foundation yesterday, you know, and that like was horrifying, right? To be a junior in high school and somebody like you're wearing clothing that was giveaway clothing. And now I'm okay with it. You know, like it doesn't bother me. You know, is it nice that I can now afford shirts? And even though I wear the same one every day, and that's what's funny too. So that shows how much I care about it these days. But you start to learn to appreciate things, I think, more. Would you agree? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I appreciate a lot of things now. I appreciate life and I appreciate the opportunities I've managed to get. And obviously I want to that because she's my manager as well. And she genuinely has always stayed positive. And she's always told me that it's going to get better, and it always has been.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something too about the Kerry and the KJ side.
Yeah.
Now, can you go a little more into detail about, and the reason I'm even asking, I almost say we have like different personas. So for instance, yeah, if someone's honking at me and they're road raging, I probably would give them a hug. Now, if we signed a contract for a fight, it's going to be a different game. Like, oh, you were the guy who honked at me. It's game time. Let me put
here's that honk to get you.
Yeah, you know, like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And so the cool thing is we have so many tools that we can use. And it sounds like that may be one of the tools that you use is you have those two different personas.
Definitely, yeah. So sometimes my mum comes with me to most of my events. She's my manager. And a lot of the time she looks at me and she goes, Kerry, you're not Kerry, you're KJ. And I'm like, I almost click and I change and I'm confident and I stand tall and I can talk to anybody I like and things like that. And it's just crazy how it can change so quick. And then when I'm at home, I'm quite not insecure, but I'm quite crazy as a person. Like you get what you see with me with KJ. I'm still who I am, but I'm crazy. I'm more emotional when I'm Kerry, and I'm a decent person when I'm Kerry. But when I'm KJ, I'm more of a like get the job done sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
That's awesome. I was actually reading something about Michael Jordan yesterday, and they think a big reason that led to his greatness is anytime we have that little self-doubt. And it sounds like that's what you have with KJ. KJ doesn't doubt anything. KJ is, you know, walking bout of confidence that can accomplish anything, you know. Same with Clifford when he's going into fight mode. He is a fighter at that point where he's not going to hug you anymore. And Michael, he will not let, you know, that little thing that starts to peek into our head that's self-doubt, like you can't do this, or maybe like, oh, maybe you might screw this up. Michael pushes that out of his head right away. There is no room for that in Michael's head. I mean, what's the famous quote? He said, why would I think about the shot I haven't taken yet? Like, Michael, what happens if you miss that shot? Why would I think about the shot that I haven't taken yet?
Exactly. And that's how I always overthink everything. Kerry, like before a fashion show, I'm like, oh God, am I going to be good? Like, am I worthy? Am I going to mess up? And then I get out there and I'm completely like, why have I been worrying when I don't need to be? And that's another journey that I've overcome. And I'm still going on kind of.
I'm worried about the next thing that's going to come out of my mouth. And then tonight I won't sleep over it.
So I also want to say, I love Kerry and I love KJ.
Thank you.
Because there's that piece where it's like, you're so confident, you cannot be stopped.
There is no stopping.
And then there's the other piece, that human piece that people need to see that says, oh, I'm scared. Oh, I don't know what to do.
That's an awesome point. Because you almost have tamed that. Let's call it your Michael Jordan. We talk about him a lot on this show because he's such a strong-minded individual, and I think it's led to his success. So you almost have the best. You know, I never knew until I watched the documentary, The Last Dance, that Michael Jordan's a little bit of a jerk. And please, Michael, don't take that the wrong way. But like, you are so confident. I always thought he was like the nicest guy in the world. But no, he's not afraid to tell his teammates where to put it. You know, and so so you've almost given yourself the best of both worlds. I'm not saying that KJ's a jerk. I'm saying that KJ is confident and she's ready and everything else. But then you've kept the side of you that has that And I don't want to bag on Michael Jordan. I'm afraid he's going to show up all of a sudden.
Come on over, Michael. I got love for you. I respect you. You're overconfident, and I love it.
Yeah. No, it's
Sky's
great.
the
And I'm sure Michael's got a big heart for foundations and stuff he's involved in, but you've kept that really big, heart. And so you've been able to, because you need that confidence, huh, Cliff? Like you
100%.
have to have that undying confidence, but sometimes that conflicts with this beautiful heart, and they'll want to love people, and they'll want to like see other people's side instead of seeing weakness.
Mm-hmm. But it is kind of difficult sometimes because a lot of the models are very, very bitchy towards each other. And sometimes I have to say, and just be Kerry and be like, look, don't do that. KJ would have them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
right, don't do that. Could you see this reason and this reason and this reason? So sometimes I do feel like I have to come out of KJ just to like be down to earth and just be like, look, don't do that. Do you know what I mean?
I'm kind of thinking Tyler needs some sort of KJ. Like I need that other side of me that's a little bit more like, let's get down to business.
I think you just gave him an insight.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, at 19, wow. That's all I got to say is, wow, you've gone through so much. You've had so much experience, and you do have the best of both worlds.
I do. And I genuinely put that down to my mum. Like she taught me everything I know. And she taught me just to be a nice person, like manage anything and things like that. And it's just, that's really important to me. And if I'm KJ or Kerry, but yeah, I think you just got to be kind to everybody. And a lot of models do think, oh my God, like she's actually nice. Like sometimes a lot of models just think you're going to be bitchy straight away, but you're just I'm not. I'm just
How
who
often
I am.
does that? How often does that happen with you?
Yeah. Oh, every time. I look like Mike Tyson, a lot of people say. So I'll walk into a gym and people all of a sudden, I love the saying, don't judge a book by its cover, because people literally cannot help themselves but to do it. They're going to do it every single time.
Definitely. I've always found that most people, like 20% of my friends are close to me, but every single one of them have said, oh my God, I thought you were really horrible when I first met you, but I've actually you and you're lovely. And I'm like, this is the thing that's wrong with the world sometimes. You judge straight away. I don't like you. You're a model. You're horrible straight away. And it's like, no, if you got to know me, I am a decent person.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've actually dealt with that a lot. And I'm not going to go too deep into the story, but I like to work out, and I go to train at our gym or I'll go lift weights. And when I lift weights, I'm by myself and I'll put my headphones on and I'm going through every problem. I'm a businessman. Like there's a lot of stress going on and I'm trying to work through it. And so I don't always have the best look on my face, probably. And I'm just in my own world, but like, if you'll talk to me, I'm going to be polite. I'm going to, but not very many people will talk to me. And then I hear later, and I have some bully stories from the gym that I'll probably tell at some point, but not today. But later somebody will interact with me, like I'll hold the door open for them or something. Oh, you're the nicest guy ever, And so you're right. We can't judge a book by its cover because you don't know the history of somebody's book. What shelves has that book been on? Who's been reading that book? And it's not actually sometimes who you are. And that's why I try to always give people the benefit of the doubt when I meet them. You never know who you're getting.
Definitely. That's well, when I meet people, I'm just like, right, I'm going to give you the benefit of doubt. And if I don't like you, that's that. I'm not going to be rude, but I'm just going to stay away.
I think Cliff and I are both thinking that like, wow, what's this girl going to do? And we better, keep an eye on her for like, and maybe she won't even talk to us in a year because she's going to be so popular. And
I do have an interesting question for you. So if you had one of those bullies actually interflect and say, Kerry, I did this, and this, and I'm sorry. Like, how would you take that?
Genuinely, I don't need that. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry, it shouldn't have been done. But obviously it's in the past, so I'm going to forget about it. I'm going to move on. I appreciate the sorry, but no thanks. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So since you've become this bigger person, so to speak, you still be polite about it. There's no reason you hate them, but it's just like, I don't need it. Yeah.
I don't need that did me wrong, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
but I just don't. I think maybe if it could have changed them when they were younger, then yeah, but it's not going to change it, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those of us too that are good at using the pain, so to speak, to make progress in life, it's going to be a weird transition. I think you're going to go through, in a couple of years when you don't really have any haters anymore. You have more people that are cheering you on, and so Cliff and I were talking about that before. It almost gets harder in a way. Because
it was a weird transition
for
sure.
Because now instead of like the haters, I'll prove them wrong. It's like everybody believes in you, And so I got invited. I actually get invited every year, and I'm really proud to do it. To the community college, and they invite me to speak to this group of all underprivileged kids that are trying to get in or are making their first transition into college. Most of them, their parents didn't go. Most of them from bad neighborhoods, that sort of stuff. And so I go and I talk to them about my story, and it's been so hard, because that was like our first entrance into like talking about any of this stuff. And then there's a story for a different day about like the first time I did it and some things I was going through. But at the end, when you share, then these kids, like, they get it, they like are like you, and they're like you, but they're like 10, 20, how old am I? They're like 20 years ago, And so, they'll stand up and they say things that I brought to tears almost every single time I've done it, And I like this kid still sticks in my mind. And it's part of the reason, very small part, that I do this podcast, is because he stood up and he's like, Tyler, I can't wait to see what you do next. Like I'm going to follow you, man, and that almost gets me teared up a little bit. And it's like, so when I like have struggles and stuff these days and like life's beating me up a little bit, I'm like, man, that kid's out there watching to see what I do. I better do something, right? So I better help some people in this world. I better get off my butt. I better stop feeling sorry for myself, and I better get out there and do it. And why I tell you this is because I think you're very capable. We need good people in the world. I think you're very capable of getting there, but be aware of the transition to come, I mean, do you think that's a valid point?
Yeah. So the biggest thing I always say is, and it comes from my coaching background all day long. We have a good person in us and we got a bad person in us, and we become the person that we choose to condition. That's it.
Yeah. That there's the whichever dog you feed.
Yeah.
I think about that all the time. I think it's an ancient Native American side. Which dog wins? The one I feed the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'll tell you, like, it's so interesting because we're all shining lights in our own way. And when we allow others to shine, it helps us all shine brighter. Like your mom, who was your biggest supporter, your biggest fan, and now you're going out and you're shining, and she's a piece of that. And even the bullies are a piece of that too. Like the people that broke you down, the people who judged you, the people who made you feel a certain way, they're all a piece of what made you you.
Yeah, totally. And we talk, so there's, and I'm going to probably talk about this on every episode, not to be redundant, but there's the American Sniper movie where the dad flips down his belt and he said, you can be three people in this world. You can be a sheep, a sheepdog, or a wolf. And the wolf's the bully, right? I kind of now, as we've been immersing more and more of this, I think we need more sheepdogs in this world. And I think you've become one. I think KJ is one. My question for you is, how do we build more sheepdogs earlier? How do we build these people that could be the third party? Like you're talking last time, you're the third party that stepped in, diffused the whole situation, not a problem anymore.
Yeah.
I really think that's a key, that these popular kids, especially like if you're a parent right now listening, a kid right now listening, your kid's popular and you're the parent, like get them to listen to this show and let's start prepping. And I'm not saying they need to go out there and fight. I'm just saying be the voice of reason. How much would it mean in that scenario where the rock's getting pulled at you and the popular kid goes, hey, why are you throwing rocks?
Mm-hmm.
Or like Cliff
Definitely.
said to the guy at the bar. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you don't like it, don't do it to somebody else. If you would imagine your sister or your brother or somebody doing that to one of your family members and throwing rocks at them, you would absolutely hate it. So there's no reason you should do it to somebody else.
Yep.
Well, and that's what's so interesting. I don't know about you, but if I even get bullied still, and I almost find it kind of funny, but it doesn't bug me, so I have this like doing the right Christian thing and looking the other way, or am I perpetuating the bully system? And I have this constantly fight between the two because I'm capable of defending myself, but then I try to be the bigger person in a situation. So in my mind, I'm like, later on, I'm like, okay, you were the bigger person, but is that perpetuating bully system for somebody else? Because if I see it happening to somebody else, no problem. I'm easily in there. I know what's right, what's wrong. So how do we decide these days, trying to be the helpful person? When do we step in and when we don't?
That's a hard one. I think if more parents, I think it's a lot to do with the parents, the way they deal with situations and stuff, because a lot of kids get exactly what they want, and they know that if they're nasty, they're going to get what they want. They know that they're going to get that in return, and I think that it's actually a hard one.
I have the same dilemma every day. Yesterday I'm dealing with a guy, and he's very full of himself, I would say, and he's kind of testing me or whatever. And there's this point when he goes, give this fool this, and he's talking about me. And I'm like, am I, in this split second, I'm like, am I perpetuating bully behavior by not saying anything? Or am I not doing the right thing, being the bigger person by not saying anything? And I came down to the point where I was really conflicted about this. I'm conflicted about this, and that's why I'm asking you, when do you step in and when do you not? Because I decided that it was more of a turn of phrase. I don't think he really meant to call me a fool. So in that situation, I decided that it wasn't worth it. Part of me almost said, wait a minute, who are you calling a fool? And not because I want a confrontation, because I don't think it's fair that he might be doing that to somebody else. I'd actually like to hear your side of that too. What do you think about that?
I think you both gave amazing examples, and that's part of the solution, is talking about it.
Yeah.
Is saying, hey, I thought about this, I saw this, I got hurt here.
Yeah.
Right. Having a discussion. For me, I love understanding psychology.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that people are in their own perspective, like they see their perspective and they don't see other perspectives. And when we're open to empathize and see different perspectives, we'll be more inclined to make movement.
Yeah.
That's what I saw. Because I'll give an example. When I was younger, I would always show people different things, but without asking permission, and it would get me in trouble every single time, because they're like, I want to know about it. Like, they just didn't want to know. As I got better at understanding, there's a middle path where I need to understand them before they're even going to attempt to understand me, even if I'm fully right. It happens in road rage all the time. Sure. Someone will cut you off and you'll be like, hey, what the heck? They're like, what did you do? No, you cut me off. I didn't cut you off.
Once again, just a misunderstanding.
Yeah, we're human, and it's complex.
And that's why it's. Sorry. Go ahead, Kerry.
I was just going to say, sometimes people just don't want to look at the bigger picture, and that sometimes you have to sit there and sit and think, right, if I say this, is it going to affect somebody? Right, if I do this, sometimes you have to think in advance of what's going to happen from that. That makes sense. And a lot of people don't do that. They don't think before they speak.
Yeah,
totally. And then their framework growing up hasn't taught them to think of that.
Well, you mentioned something so powerful, the parenting. The way our parents show up, we're going to kind of follow lead.
Yeah.
Like the ducklings follow the mother duck.
Totally.
And humans are exactly the same way. So if you're building a culture of, hey, we're doing this, we're together in this, then there's going to be this togetherness. If we do, hey, it's us against them, well, how can you expect the kids to see anything any different other than, hey, it's us against them?
And this is what I mean. If you show if you're a good role model, your children are going to want to do what you do, and they're going to follow what you do, which is sometimes why you have to look into look further into the picture and see that some people don't have parents that are there for them, and some people don't have things like that. And it is sad, which is why sometimes I don't blame the bullies, because they don't know anything other than that. But yeah,
And
sometimes it's
that's where it gets so much more complex too, because you're right, there's a reason they're bullying, and a lot of times the reason is lack of guidance. And shame on those parents that are there around, because some people are just Mr. Magooing their way through adolescence because they don't have anybody there saying, don't do this, don't. Those are the scariest people, right? Because they don't have somebody, your brain's not ready for this life yet. It's not ready for adolescence. If you don't have those good people in your life that are saying, you shouldn't do that, you should do this, you should think about school 10 years from now, you should think about your job 10 years now, you want to study because this is what it means later on. But for some people that's harder and they don't have that support. And it's almost like a rebellious outreach. And so as much as we don't like bullies, there is more to that. The interesting, go ahead.
That's what I mean. Sometimes, like the bullies that would bully me, sometimes I'd just be like, fine, you bully me, because I know that deep down you're insecure, you're feeling that way. You call me ugly, but yet it's probably you that feels that way, and it's probably you that's been told that, or that your family don't support you the best they can support you, or just tell you not to be a nasty person, because parents see children. I've seen so many parents that just see their child be bullies and they don't care.
I'm really trying to get around this, like what gives people this heart, and I'm actually in awe of people that didn't have to go through something and still have an amazing heart. The three of us went through some stuff and we ended up with amazing heart, and so like it was almost like built in a way. But there is some people that are just good people.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, like my twin sister, she is genuinely the sweetest girl I've ever met. Like she looks after disabled people and she just has a heart of gold. She genuinely does, and she's never been bullied. And yeah, she had the odd comment, but she never got bullied, and she's an amazing person. So's my younger sister. And I think genuinely it's my mum that's obviously helped with that, and my dad and my parents have brought us up to be a good people. And I think that if more parents actually sit and look at the bigger picture, then there could be more good people in the world,
Yeah, totally. And I'm not saying by us having to build it doesn't mean that we wouldn't have been good people anyways. I'm just saying it was a little different path to get there.
Definitely.
Well, I love the nature and nurture.
Yeah.
And there's some people who they just have natural gifts, but if those gifts aren't nurtured, they won't do anything. And then there's some people, they don't have anything natural.
Yeah.
But they get nurtured so much that they end up putting it together. And my biggest thing is like, we're all in this together. That's what I do my best to remind people. And what's cool and not cool at the same time with everything that's going on now, we're seeing it affects everything. Everything, it ripples out and it's going to affect our life. And when we can remember that, we'll be more cognizant of how we treat people.
The other thing is there's I think that show's called Man Moment Machine. Mm-hmm. And it's basically about like preparing yourself. And then if the moment comes, then an impact is coming, right? Because not everybody can be Martin Luther King. Not everybody can be JFK. Not everybody can be Alexander the Great. Person, moment, machine, right? But we have to build that person in case that moment ever comes.
I like that.
Definitely, I like that a lot.
And that's what this is kind of about too. We really try to pinpoint the awareness and, but then like try to like bring some motivation, because we find that people have really good tools that have come through this stuff. And actually that's the bright side of the tunnel in all this is you've developed amazing tools. Cliff has developed amazing tools, and so even somebody that doesn't have like a bully experience, it doesn't mean they can't use these tools. These aren't all in reliance to being bullied. They can just be things that will help you improve your life, because you guys are extraordinary individuals. You're doing more than the ordinary people. And that might have been a result of this spark or this like call to action, so to speak. But at the same time, the framework's still the same. This thing allowed you to help build it, but it doesn't mean that it's any less valuable to somebody that didn't even experience bullying.
Mm-hmm. And it makes, in my experience, it makes people want to do more. So like, for example, there's a few people that I know, they're like, oh, God, like you're a model, can I join? And I'm like, no. And then like obviously I'm going to be there for them. If they need a little bit of help, and if I can help, I'm going to help. But like, it's the more bullies, our friends, like, oh, can I be like, no, but I see that like they're trying to do something better, and it's like they always end up in the end doing something better, and it's like, that was your path, you know?
Totally. What are you, unfortunately, we're closing in towards the end of the show, but I really want to get, what are your take homes to kids out there, parents out there, you know, the building of the Sheepdogs or the third party? What, do you have any insight for any of those groups and how we could, you know, how some of your history or your mentality is kind of relevant and can be helpful to them?
I think I would just say one of the big things is think before you speak. And a lot of children coming from me, I used to be like that, not to bully wise, but I say like nasty things to my sisters and just be, oh, shut up, whatever. But really, if you sit and you actually, that's not right. You actually need to think about what the outcome is and what could happen from that. And I think people really need to realize that, and just to be kind, and there's a path for everybody, and just be happy and just be nice, and there's everything's meant to be. That's what I think.
Totally.
Nice.
Yeah, we want you, we want to keep informed on what you're doing. Can you tell us a little bit about your plans for the future right now? Anything that you're happy to announce that you've got going on and you're excited about, and what your future holds?
Yes. So my plan is to travel the world. In college, I did travel and tourism. So that is what I want to do, but obviously incorporate modeling with that. And I'm also going to be in a new film coming up called Magpies and the Missing Millions. We start filming in a few months, actually. So it's going to be a big film, and I'm one of the main parts. So that's going to be exciting.
That's awesome. Good for you.
Playing a nun, which is not the best part for me, but I would come out to be an amazing supermodel. So it's like we were talking about earlier, it's two lives. I'm a nun, and I'm safe, and I say to my husband, and then I'm like, do you know what? No, I want to be me. And I come out and I be a supermodel, and it's just a complete different persona. And I'm excited for that because it's going to be very interesting.
It sounds like the part was made for you.
Yeah, I love it.
I just said I'm very appreciative, and I'm very thankful that I got that part, because I've got some good friends on there that have put me forward for the part. So yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome. What do you got to say before we?
Kerry, KJ, you're both amazing superstars. Keep shining bright. Keep showing the world your light. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. Thank you both for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you. Well, thanks for coming to another episode of Bully This. Really excited guests lined up for the future. And I got a lot out of what we talked about today. I think the underlying theme is we do have these things that make us different, you know, when we're younger. And we almost dislike those things about us, but any later on in life, those can be the actual things that build us and our best tools. So it's almost interesting that here's a tool that we're afraid to use, and we haven't learned how to use it then yet. And in the future, it will become the key to our success. So thank you very much for coming, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
You've been listening to Bully This, a hero's journey. The effects on kids that are bullied are many. Increased risk for depression, anxiety, sleep difficulties, lower grades, and dropping out of school. It's a real problem, and that's why we created this show. We're acutely aware of the pain, shame, and damage that bullying causes, and our passion is to help kids and families to know that there is always help, that there is always a solution. We hope you've gotten some useful information from the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on Facebook at Bully This, a Hero's Journey. Take care, and we'll see you next time.